Oh, yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Somerville. Now, this is a unique one. We are in the midst of coronavirus pandemic here. Don't worry, not going to be a somber or serious podcast, but we obviously feel the need to recognize the reality of the world we live in right now. My guest today is a repeat guest. Third appearance, my girlfriend Kate. Now, listen, I don't want you to start getting cocky and thinking that you are a co-host of this thing or somehow, my highest rated guest, which technically you happen to be. True. Right. However, I want you to know that you are simply here because we are in isolation and locked up, and I can't literally physically see anyone else but you, my roommate / girlfriend.
How lucky are you? You forgot to add that part at the end.
The most fortunate I've ever felt in my life. Welcome back to the show, Kate.
Thanks for having me on our couch.
What's new in your life? What's been happening?
Not a whole lot this past week since we've been back in New York and abiding by the very strict self-isolation / quarantine rules. We did a puzzle. I did a puzzle. Michael did a few pieces, and we've watched a lot of TV. We watched Tiger King. We've watched
in 8 hours.
Oh my
literally
gosh.
Started
back to back. I know that I am really known for my Netflix recommendations, and that one is not a hot take. I think everybody's been talking about Tiger King, but we jumped on that bandwagon pretty quick.
It was very early on.
It was very entertaining.
I actually do find it a little entertaining. I was fascinated by it. We started it one day around noon, and literally by 8 p.m. we had watched all 7 episodes, and we're thirsting for more. And I found it a little bit curious that most people, it's a craze. I mean, worldwide, people are watching it. David Spade every night on Instagram is interviewing one of the cast members, a new cast member. But there are people who don't like it, and they're noticeably, like, they're trying to make a point on social media of the fact that they don't like it, which is a behavior I never quite understood. Like, if you don't like something, you don't like it, but to go online and to try to, like, tell everyone that you don't like it. Yeah. You're younger than me, and you're a little more privy to the social media habits of these kids. What is that about?
I mean, I see it. I don't know why. I don't do it. I think there's enough negative energy out there and a lot of other things going on that if you feel the need to go online and talk about things you don't like, then I think that's a you problem.
Oh, look at you coining phrases.
Yeah,
problem.
I'm a consumer of social media. I don't actively participate.
I see.
Or like post or
I tell you what,
stop it.
You are becoming quite an active member of the universe out there, the podcast community.
I did watch an Instagram Live podcast 2 nights ago or whatever it was, because we're stuck at home and we hadn't had anywhere to go, and
she didn't want to listen to any of my stand-up videos
because I've heard it all. I love it, but I've heard it. So I'm a consumer is what I would say. But yes, I think that people that post negative comments, I mean, I don't know, just there's better things to do with your time.
Well, that's what I feel. There's plenty out there in the world. Certainly a lot of things exactly to entertain you. Why dwell? But we are certainly not going to dwell on the negativity here. This is a positive podcast, a positive household we live in, and a wonderfully positive relationship that we share. But what I do want to talk about is what we were supposed to be doing this month. Now, out of the gates, I'll certainly say, I absolutely understand people are in a bad situation now. And, we applaud and are thrilled for all our medical team and nurses and everyone out there who's working hard. We're certainly not trying to be woe is me or make light of anything. It's a serious situation. But we had quite a different month than we set out to have. Kate has a sabbatical, gets a month off of work after working for 12 years.
12 and a half.
12 and a half years, and one of the great things about the company she works for, they give you a full month off, and we planned an incredible trip to the other side of the world, Australia and New Zealand, and we were supposed to be gone the majority of this month. Mm-hmm. And when we were first planning this trip, we set out to go to both about equal time in Australia and then New Zealand. Over the course of, say, 3 weeks. And then the wildfires in Australia were happening, and nobody knew what was next. What was Australia going to be even, could you visit? So we wound up at the point we had to commit to something. So we trimmed a few of our days in Australia, and then went a little longer to New Zealand was the plan. And we are back earlier than we were supposed to be. But I do want to tell you guys a little about the trip because it was an amazing place. If you've never been, Australia and New Zealand are truly wonderful people, beautiful places. And I like to tell Kate that I travel a lot. I'm a stand-up comedian. I've spent 20 years on the road. I feel like I know what I'm doing out there.
Oh my
God. Would you agree with that, Kate?
I mean, we've traveled a few times together now, so, and I don't travel, obviously, anywhere near as much as you do. I don't think many people do, but every single time we get at an airport or to a hotel or anything, I have to hear, I don't know if you know this, but I travel quite a bit.
That's
so
not true.
No matter what we do, it's like checking a bag or like getting in line to, go to the gate. Like he just has to remind me that he travels quite a bit. So that's how we started this trip,
true.
and it continued the whole trip.
Hey, come on. I was good at certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things perhaps I was not good at, we're flying from Los Angeles into Australia, Sydney, and you have to fill out those forms, those cultural agriculture things. You're bringing any seeds, plants, food, all that kind of stuff. And I travel a lot, so I'm familiar with the form. And I fill mine out. I haven't brought anything, don't have any seeds, anything, blah, blah, blah. And we're getting, just right an hour before the plane lands, they have bananas. They have a little tray of bananas. They're handing out little snacks. I grab a banana and then decide I don't want it. I throw it in my backpack, my little carry-on, and don't even think about it. So we get off the plane, online to go through the agricultural inspection there in Sydney, Australia, and I see a big sign of all the things you're not allowed to bring into the country, and there's actually fruit. There's a banana on the sign, and I panic. I go, oh my goodness, I have a banana in my bag, but it's from the plane. It wasn't like I smuggled it in, I'm sneaking something in. So I'm only one person away from the first guy that you get to who looks at your form, and I'm looking for a garbage. Going, I don't want this banana. I'll throw it out. Too late. The next person next. I'm up, and right away I start spilling my gut.
He does a Somerville, which is when this is the term that I've now coined for when Michael explains something to someone, but instead of just explaining it and getting to the point, he gives the backstory, and then the backstory from the backstory 3 levels back, and he tells it from the beginning of time. And eventually the person he's talking to has no idea what he's even trying to get to, but he just over-explains it. So that's the Somerville. And I'm looking at him like, I went. I don't know what else to say except that I was like, I have no fruit, so I'm going to just keep going.
You left me.
I did, because I didn't try to bring any forbidden items into Australia.
You completely
I went on my way and said, see you later, deal with this banana.
So you
all for a banana. Like, we just had breakfast on the flight, too. Why did you need the banana?
I didn't. I just, you never know.
He does that.
In a pinch.
He just takes it. I knew you didn't need it.
I listen. Okay, so we get up to the guy, and I explained to him I didn't need it. I didn't want it. It was from the plane. I don't need this banana. I just couldn't find a place to throw it out. Can I get rid of it somehow? Is there, And he goes, well, you have to declare it now. I go, but I don't want it. It's just a plain banana, literally from the plane. How do I? Nope. And you got to go down, this way. Everyone else is going the other way. Kate's set free. Everyone.
I was through whatever line I went to in 5 minutes, and I'm just standing there like, seriously, how long is this going to be? I'm waiting for this guy because of his banana.
So I get this on special line, and there's a woman waiting for me. No one else is in this line, and all of a sudden I've got contraband or declare. I don't know what I'm doing, and I start Somervilling her as well, over-explaining everything. Here's what I need. And she said, I don't want a banana. I just want to get rid of it. I'm sorry.
And I got this banana on the plane, and it was about 5 minutes after they served us the coffee, and I thought maybe I'd want the banana, and I wasn't sure, but I took it for later, and now here I am. I've walked through the line. I'm standing in front of you with my banana.
I want to make sure they know I'm an honest person. I'm giving them all the information. She says, well, let's see if the dogs can find it. And my eyes, what? What do you mean the dogs can find it? Yeah, we're going to see if the dogs can find it. I go, no, there's no need for dogs. It's in my bag. I'll take it out of the bag. Here's the bag. I'll give it to the dogs. No, go down there. And I have to go down this other special corridor now. And there's like cones. There's 4 cones that are sort of roped. There's a little roped off section. I have to stand in the middle. Stand in the middle, sir, with your luggage in front of you. I start trying to explain to them, like, look, I got a banana. I don't, and I'm leaving that other woman, and I'm going, can I have your name? What happens if the dogs do find it? Where am I going with these dogs? What's going to happen? Nope, the dogs. So sure enough, I'm standing in the middle, and I'm trying to tell this guy, it's a banana. What are the dogs going to do? The woman told me to come. I did not hear trying to smuggle a banana. The woman already said, and he just, stop talking, please, stop talking. Release the dogs. And all of a sudden, these 2 dogs, thankfully on leashes, come out, and they're going to come into the circle and, like, sniff for me. And I said, what happens if they find the banana? Well, thankfully, turns out they were training these dogs. They thought, well, perfect, this knucklehead has a banana in his bag. It's a perfect chance to see if the dogs can find it. They did find it. They did smell it. They didn't do anything to me. They took my banana, and thankfully... I was saved. About 25 minutes later, I emerged as you were standing there confused, wondering if I wasn't allowed in the country.
Yeah, you're lucky I didn't get in the Uber, but that was the start of our trip. Me and the seasoned traveler over here couldn't even get through customs. That's when I knew.
That was, yeah.
Like, I trusted this guy,
well,
Mr. Traveler.
But thankfully, we are into Australia, and we had a lovely time. We walked all around Sydney, got to see the bridge, you got to see the Opera House and do all that stuff. Took off for a great little island, Hamilton Island, which is on the verge of the Great Barrier Reef. We're having a great old time despite bad weather.
Yes, despite the rain the first couple days. We had a good weather the last day, but still very windy, which prevented us from, we were going to take an excursion to the actual reef. We were supposed to take a helicopter there and then snorkel there and then take a boat back.
Your man had planned a nice trip.
You sure had. And it was all derailed by the weather because even when it cleared up the last day, it was too windy, which, I'm not going to push someone to take me in a helicopter if it's too windy. So I get it, although it was disappointing. I was also supposed to cuddle a koala.
Yeah.
And then we were told when we arrived that the koalas had fallen ill. So didn't get to do that.
Koalas had the flu.
So no word on if it was COVID related.
Well, to give some perspective, when we left, this is early March, obviously this whole corona thing was around, but it was not nearly as serious and severe as it is now. And we left, we flew on planes, didn't think about it. Planes were definitely like fewer people, it was noticeable, but people weren't wearing masks, people weren't social distancing. This is, you all know, anyone listening remembers how quickly it escalated. I do a post, speaking of social media, from Australia. I mean it as a joke because we're away and we're feeling a little guilty about posting anything because we realize that people, are home dealing with day by day a more serious thing going on. And we felt like we were sort of on a movie set just in this la la land. And so I post, the gray skies, it's raining. I said, what else can go wrong?
It's like you brought it all on. Then the koala was sick and couldn't go to the reef. So
we missed the Great Barrier Reef. We missed the koala cuddle. But the one thing we were going to do was go back to Sydney, and we were gonna be able to watch, go at night to the Sydney Bridge and the harbor and the whole thing.
Everything there. It was supposed to be St. Patrick's Day festivities. That all got canceled. That all was crap weather.
Exactly.
So we go to New Zealand.
So we head to New Zealand.
Yes.
And we
go to Queenstown, New Zealand.
Yes.
Which, honestly, we were there for 5 nights, and we were supposed to go from Queenstown to 3 other places for our last week. That ended up getting axed. So our New Zealand stay consisted of 5 nights in Queenstown, and as sad as it was that we didn't go to the other places, Queenstown was absolutely amazing. It was beautiful. We stayed right on the lake, and I mean,
beautiful place.
I loved it.
Queenstown.
There's so much to do.
That was, in terms of temperature, that was my brand. It was technically the end of their summer, but it was like 50 to 65 degrees, maybe 70 degrees.
I was a bit cold.
Yes, which means I was comfortable,
yeah.
Which I loved. But a few things happened in Queenstown. You bungee jumped.
I sure did.
And that was insane to me.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, I did not bungee jump, for our listeners. I had zero interest in jumping off of a bridge, which Kate, what made you decide to bungee jump? So
Queenstown is kind of like known as like the adventure capital. I don't know if it's of the world, but it's definitely of New Zealand, and they have...
And maybe the home of bungee jumping.
Well, yeah, so it was like, I think it's the oldest commercial bungee jump. It's this A.J. Hackett, it's the Kawarau Bridge, I believe is how it's said. I don't know. So this A.J. Hackett bungee has a few different locations that you can jump from, and we had heard from other people who had been there, and like when you just like kind of search things to do in Queenstown, it's one of the top kind of thrill-seeking things.
Right.
And you could either bungee into a canyon. It's called this Nevis Canyon, which is like 3 times a higher jump than the one that I did, which was the bridge. But the bridge was beautiful. I mean, you were jumping off a bridge over this river that had
gorgeous,
beautiful blue waters. Yeah. And I saw, we watched some videos of people doing it, and I was like, you know what? I mean, I'm not a huge like thrill seeker. I mean, I like roller coasters and things like that, but I never bungee jumped, never skydived. I just felt like when in Queenstown, you should do something adventurous like that. So I had said before we left, I'm going to do it. And we got there, and we had done some really fun other things. We did a helicopter ride that morning. We went over the Milford Sound and Mount Cook mountains, and, just a whole bunch of stuff on the western side, I guess, of the South Island of New Zealand, and everything about it. We landed on a glacier. Like, I mean, it was awesome.
Your man treats you right. That's
yes.
What you're saying.
Yes, yeah. You sure do, sweetie. And I'd never been on a helicopter either, so I felt like, all right, that was a little scary.
You were more than a little scared.
I was nervous about going in a helicopter.
I've been in many helicopters.
Okay, no, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
He's been in them before, but not, I wouldn't say many.
Several. 6.
Okay, so I was a little nervous about that, and then after that was done, I was like, all right, today's the day. We still have the whole afternoon. Like, let's just, it was our first full day in Queenstown, and I was like, I'm doing the bungee, let's go. So yeah, we take this little bus out of Queenstown 20 minutes or so. We get off the bus. First of all, there's like a full bus of all these young daredevil kids, and it keeps going to the even bigger bungee.
Yeah, the first stop was your bungee. The second stop was the 3 times bigger one.
Yeah, we were the only losers that got off at the first one, and then I was embarrassed. I was like so proud of myself for doing it, and then I'm like, oh, nobody else is doing this bungee. However,
listen, I watched that thing. That was a gigantic. That jump was insane. You have nothing to be ashamed of.
I don't. I don't know what crazy person would go off the other one. I mean, the other one, you're jumping into a canyon. At least with mine, I mean, it was pretty.
Well, tell us your thoughts when you're sitting up there. Literally, it's one thing to say, I want to bungee jump. It's another thing to be standing up there, buckled, and about to jump off a bridge. Mm-hmm. And you had the benefit of watching a few people do it before you.
Yeah.
I was watching from the side. And so you see that it works. You see that, okay, this is something we do all day, every day here.
Yeah.
But still, what's your thought process as you're standing there?
I just tried not to think about it, because I felt like I told people I was going to do it. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted just to, like, have the experience and have the pictures, and like
you did it for the gram.
Well, not really, because I didn't even post it, because again, I just felt so guilty about being on this fun vacation and doing fun things with everything going on back home. Well, I'll do it as like a TBT sometime.
There you go. That's throwback.
Like, yeah, a little throwback.
See what you did there.
Look how fun I was.
So tell us your emotions right before you jump.
I didn't,
because you started screaming when you jumped.
I did. I didn't, when they put the thing...
And you were cursing before you jumped.
Yes. We bought the video of it, and they did a really good job with the video. They got me from all angles. They picked up sound, which, in retrospect, if I had known that, I would have... I don't know if I could have controlled what I was saying, honestly. I know this is a PG podcast, so I won't repeat it, but you can use your imagination. But it was a lot
language.
Of, oh my something God, oh my something God.
Yes.
Yes. And that... Like, they put
Which is something I've never heard you say.
Well, listen.
Well, that's another story.
They put the like button. First of all, you have a harness on you, and they put this thing around your legs with the bungee. I wasn't really watching too specifically, because I think as I was sitting there and getting all secured, I started getting nervous, and so I tried not to think about it too much, and I wasn't looking at what they were doing. They wrapped my legs with like a towel or something, and then they stand you up when you're all harnessed and secured, and then they move you like closer. You have to kind of waddle up to the edge of where you're going to jump, And right as I stood at that edge and looked down, that's when the oh my God started.
Yeah.
And I took a few very, very deep breaths of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to jump off this thing. Yeah, it was really scary. And the guy behind me was like, are you okay? And I'm sure they've seen worse for sure
I bet.
of people that freak out. And I was just, I said yes. And then he said, all right, I'm going to count down from 5 and just go forward and go head first and put your arms out. They also gave me the option of trying to touch the water, which because you're going over like the river, I guess they can do it depending on the bungee that they attach you to. You can basically like
the
go
length
head
of the
first.
bungee and your weight.
Yeah, you can go head first. And the first guy that rigged me said, "Oh, this is actually a new bungee, so you're not going to touch the water." And I at first was kind of like, "Did he just say it's a new bungee?" Like, oh my God! Like, I mean,
is that good or bad?
Yeah. So I was kind of like, "Okay," and he's like, "Is that okay with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Like, because at that point, I'm like, "I don't care." I'm just doing it. And then
literally, were you the first one to use the bungee?
So.
Oh, geez.
I believe so.
Maybe someone else tested first.
I didn't ask questions. I just put my blind faith in these people. The waiver I signed before I did it was not, I read half of it and I was like, oh boy, well, if anything happens to me, these guys are not liable, and I signed it. So, yeah. And then the next guy comes over to me and said, do you want to touch the water? And I was like, I thought I can't because it's a new bungee. And he's like, actually, I think it's going to work. I don't know if that was like him saying because of how much I weighed. He thought it was kind of like, I didn't have time to wonder if I was fat shamed before I bungeed. Although I also realized they wrote a number on your hand before you went. And I thought it was like my number in line. And then I realized it was my weight in kilograms.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And so kilograms means nothing to me.
Right. I loved weighing myself in kilograms.
I was like, I am so light right now. I am skinny. And also, I didn't know any different. But between the helicopter and then that thing, I was getting weighed all day.
Getting weighed all day long.
So,
I had a lousy time.
I'm glad it was at the beginning of the vacation.
Yes.
And then, long story short, I jumped. I screamed very loudly. It was cool. It was a crazy, scary
Do you remember
feeling.
thinking anything on the way down?
I just remember thinking, like, oh my God, like this is, I've never felt obviously anything like that. And, I hope this works. Like I had that split second of like, and then I remembered thinking they said to like kind of put your chin to your chest and stretch your hands straight over your head to try to touch the water. So as I'm falling, I remember at the last minute I did that and I kind of braced because I was like, oh, I might hit the water. But yeah, once it hit or the bungee kind of pulled, I did not hit the water. So I guess they calculated wrong. I guess I'm a little lighter than they thought. And I definitely braced for it.
I would have drowned in the water.
The bungee snapped and I was like, oh, thank God. But it was weird because even after the bungee snapped, you kind of just like fly back up again and you know there's another one coming because you'd kind of bounce a couple times.
Yeah.
Well,
you was a slight herk and jerk to yours, but perhaps my favorite jump of the day was a few before you. There was this Asian guy, and they were. I think there was a language barrier. They were giving him directions in English. I don't think he was totally getting them. And it comes time to jump, and as you know, they tell you to sort of dive, like you're diving into a pool of sorts. Head first. And instead, this Asian guy, just steps off the ledge like he was committing suicide from a building, and he just falls straight to. And what did you say?
And I'm like 2 behind him, ready to go, like getting my harness on, and the 2 guys that like kind of are behind you and helping you get up there. Like, right after you go, they're like, well, I didn't say to do that.
Yeah. This guy, thankfully, only weighed about 60 pounds, probably. He was a lean little man, but boy, he was going down feet first, and then the whole thing just snapped, and he flipped over.
Because they have you by your feet. Yeah. So it's like, if you're going... So from my vantage point, I couldn't see the bottom, but you could because you were across the way.
He snapped. He looked fine. He got off and walked up the stairs after, so I guess he was all right. But it was quite an experience watching you. I was very nervous, and I still, I'm not completely settled with it. I'm taking a lot of heat too, by the way, from my parents, your parents. Everyone's yelling at me now that I'm back. How could you let her do that? Like I've ever been able to control you at anything.
No. Not yet.
So the next day becomes my hell. In another event you had in mind called funyakking, which looks like a nice relationshipy float down a river in these gorgeous rivers, and you have your little lunch, and then you keep going. And we were supposed to do this. It looked like a
full day excursion. We were going to get picked up in Queenstown at 7:30 in the morning.
Already, I'm angry.
Okay. We because of the time change, we woke up earlier. He woke up earlier on this trip than I have ever seen in my life.
That's actually true.
Crazy. We were in bed early and waking up at like 7 a.m. every day on our own, regardless of this excursion.
That's my secret to getting up early. I just have to keep traveling around the world.
Yeah, just be like on a 17-hour time difference or something.
I was up. I had breakfast every morning. It was great.
Yeah, I know.
I enjoyed that.
It was surreal. I didn't really know what to make of it, but it picked us up. It was supposed to take us to this, cool, river, and we were going to do a jet boat ride across the river to a more remote spot.
Okay.
Where we would then kayak. That's what we knew.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's the brochure said, right outside of Queenstown, you go for a little, funyak is like a kayak, but it's more fun. Yeah, okay. Not
2 people to a kayak, so relationship building, just me and you together. Rowing the boat.
Right. Row. Well, so we get up at an ungodly hour, and we're on this bus forever. That was not a normal...
It was a 40-minute bus ride to get to the river.
Easily 40 minutes. And the first thing that happens is I'm thinking, okay, and I kept saying, I don't know what to expect. They keep saying, bring dry clothes, but don't bring cotton. Bring sunblock, but don't worry about that. And I just couldn't put my finger on what the heck we were doing. I was like, I don't understand. Why can't you bring, how wet are we going to get?
Yeah, that's true.
So all of a sudden they line us up like we're joining the army. We get to this, after this 40-minute ride, and they start telling us to leave all of our stuff, and they're going to give us our outfits. We should strip down either naked or to our underwear, and they're going to give us wetsuits and shells.
And the wet shoes or whatever.
Right, wet walking water shoes and the whole thing. And I mean, a
merino base layer.
It's an 8:15 in the morning, and I'm supposed to put on some crazy...
I couldn't even look at you when that happened. Neither of us expected that, obviously. It was cold, like Michael said. The thing with Queenstown is it was really cold in the morning.
Real cold.
And it had probably a 20-degree flux between mornings and afternoon. And then when the sun would come out, it would be pleasant and wonderful. But yeah, I mean, you're in the mountains and it's cold. So when we got off that bus in the middle of wherever we were for this river, I mean, I was freezing.
It was
and
cold.
Thinking this is going to suck. And I wasn't super excited about it either. But I did not... I don't know. They definitely didn't tell us we were getting wetsuits on, but when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, he is going to kill me.
I was furious.
I didn't even look at him. I was like, oh God, well, here we go.
Well,
I knew you weren't going to, leave.
Well, I couldn't leave. I considered it. What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
If you were by yourself, maybe.
If they had Uber there. I was already thinking if they had Uber. It was a town of 300 people we were in. 300 people lived in that town. And I was like, I don't think there's such a thing as Uber here. Maybe I'll at least just sit and wait in that little cabin they had.
And let me kayak by myself?
All day long.
With who?
You wanted to go.
We need 2 people in a boat.
This is...
There were, by the way, this was a family-friendly excursion. There were families with their 8-year-old children doing this. Well, so it wasn't you didn't have to have a master kayak, badge or something.
No, the issue I had with this thing was, A, what are we doing? Where are we getting ourselves into? The brochure made it look like a silly little fun. There's people laughing in a kayak. And all of a sudden we're wearing full wetsuits and we're in one of these jet boats, which I guess I could have Googled it, but I never heard of. It's a high-speed boat that goes whipping up the river over 6 inches of water, and and these instructors are trying to show off, and they're doing skid outs and stops and big wave flashes, and we're getting sprayed. It's 8:30 in the morning, and we're getting showered with cold water. You and I were freezing. Everyone in the boat was freezing.
It was very cold in the morning.
We paid for this.
Yes.
We gave them money. And this was what they were doing to us?
It was fun.
Oh, please. You were miserable. We had those things, some sort of scarves or whatever they call them. We put them on. We just full face, full everything. We were just covering our eyes. I was angry. We finally get to where...
You think?
Where we're supposed to start doing this funyak stuff. And, okay, and that was nicer. I will say also now we're in a boat together. Mm-hmm. But our instructor, he had a thing out for me.
Jordan. Oh, my God. Jordan was the cutest little thing.
Oh, cute, neither cute nor little.
He was a man of the forest.
The earth, yes.
Yeah, Jordan was telling us about that he went to school to like, I don't even know what his degree was in, but just all about being a nature guy. And like, you know, he built the steps that led from the creek up to where we had lunch at the picnic site.
Well, they
he was
drank
such a nice little guy.
the water from the river 24/7. That's the water they drank. There was no such thing as faucet or bottled water. They drank from the river to do everything. They cooked with it. They drank with it. When we were thirsty, they said, drink the river water.
Yeah, and again, like Michael said, it's a town of 300 people. When we drove into this town,
I need Poland Spring.
We saw the one bar / hotel / library / right next door was the one room schoolhouse that they said housed, you know, there's 2 classes, a, you know, K through 8 and a high school or something like that. And I mean, it was a 5-block town. I mean, it was crazy. I've never seen something like that.
That was nuts.
But our instructor, I don't think he had it out for you. I think
the
group so each instructor, each kayaking guide had like 4 kayaks with them, and we had basically families,
right?
You know, and so each one is like a mother or son with a child, and then there's us. So I think he just had higher expectations for us.
Oh, maybe, but all I know is every time everyone else is doing great. And then I'm somehow, Michael, get over here. No, and then it was always some impossible instruction. It's like, turn around and go 90 degrees upstream, beyond the rocks, and do like, he would just tell me these things at the last second. Like, it was personal. It was something, I think he liked you. That's what's happening.
Probably. I think that's what it was.
That was a long day. We stopped for some glorious lunch. He says the best lunch he's ever had was ham and cheese sandwiches and water from the river. And
yeah,
I could not wait to get back that night to Queenstown, which we thankfully did, and then hit a bar.
Yes, we did. Yes. But it was a beautiful river, and it was fun. I mean, I laughed so much just being on the kayak. Like, Michael was in the back, so technically he was in charge. He got to tell me which way to row my oar.
Yes.
And I will say,
that was glorious.
Jordan, our guide, did say that the person in the front wasn't supposed to do a lot of work, but I felt like I was working pretty hard.
I had you working up there.
I feel like I was responsible for getting us out of a few situations when we all of a sudden, there was like all these sharp turns or like where the river split. And, you know, Jordan sometimes, I think he was worried about the children, as he should, and I think you and I would have been fine, because it wasn't deep water. There's a couple times we got stuck on rocks, and we had to just get in the water and pull ourselves out.
But it was a little more intense than advertised. I mean, it wasn't easy.
I agree with that.
Yeah, the tide would take you, that would sweep you down the wrong direction.
Right.
You had to fight
So at the last minute, Jordan would be like, stay right!
Yeah,
and we're
Michael!
Jordan, we're 3 feet from this split, and it's, you know, the current is taking us.
Yeah.
A few times we just got turned around and just got to the board, like, let's let the river take us.
Yes.
We're going wherever the river wants us to go.
Just doing 360s in the river. Like, let the tide decide.
But it was fun, and we went into that beautiful chasm of rocks that, like, you know, it was super narrow, and we had to really paddle through. Although actually I had to paddle because you were behind me trying to take photos of the iPhone. I'm like, this is so hard. Why am I struggling to turn the boat? And then he's like, turn around. I see he's got the iPhone. I'm like, you're not even paddling. But it was beautiful, and it was really cool.
It was.
I'm glad we did it.
I am too. And then sadly, unfortunately, not long thereafter, we got word that, that was the other thing. Every day, it was hard to check out. Every single day, we would obviously turn on the news in the morning or look at our phones, and the news back home was hard to avoid, and it was starting to seep into New Zealand as well. You know, people were starting to get nervous there and talk about where have you been and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then, we woke up before we were beginning our 3rd week of vacation with the terrible news that it was, being advised to come back to the States if you were traveling and you were a U.S. citizen. And not long thereafter, New Zealand themselves was shutting down borders, and hotels and everything were closing. So we made the unfortunate, well, we didn't make the decision, it was sort of made for us, that we needed to get home, and rather than spend the rest of our vacation in vineyards and Abel Tasman National Park, we had a lot of fun things planned. But I think we should actually go back and do it when things are all calmed down.
Yeah, that's what we can. Hopefully, that's our goal. Something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
And hope for. It was very sad the way it ended, but obviously, bigger things going on, and
bigger
it's a
things.
Little. I don't know the right word for it, but it was a little odd leaving New Zealand, where there's more sheep than people.
Yeah.
And everything felt so wide open and spread out, and we were in nature every day. Like we rented bikes, we were hiking, we were just did all these fun things, and then it was like, oh, let's just go back to Manhattan, which is the epicenter, and it
was a weird feeling to
very weird to come home, but there's nowhere else. I wouldn't want to be stuck somewhere that's not home, and
Absolutely.
New York is home. So,
well, Kate, I can't thank you enough for joining us here. Your third episode. Don't get comfortable.
This is it.
You're not a co-host.
I'm the new co-host.
You're the only person I have access to.
Get excited, everyone, because I think we're going to be stuck here together.
I hope you're all staying safe and well, and washing your hands, and social distancing, and staying inside, and doing all the things you're supposed to be doing. And we'll all be well and healthy. Fingers crossed this will pass very, very soon. Thank you all for listening. Signing off for Michael and my guest, Kate. Talk to you next time.